Hey, how's it going, everyone? I just want to do a lesson on America, do a little bit of a sort of angle with respect to Memorial Day today, and a couple things just got me thinking about this lesson. First, I was golfing earlier, and pretty typical occurrence for me when I'm not working. Um, so on the way there, I see a woman who is holding a American flag, like just like a picture of an American flag above her head, and I suspect, she's probably homeless, or just not thriving, and on the side of the road, and a so-called African American woman as well, and so I just shook my head, and I just like it still amazes me. Um, that people can be patriotic, knowing what's coming out, not just of the leadership of the government in America, but everywhere around the world. But America, to me, is showing the leadership to be very, very obvious that they're satanic, that they're against God, and not doing anything, virtuous or righteous, speaking about these things, but not doing literally anything. It's like, someone give me one example of something that the American government is doing to help really anybody, um, locally or abroad, and there won't be anything. Anything good that's happening is on the local level, and spearheaded by people, not just necessarily Bible people at all. It's just people, at the local level, being charitable, and even recently when we've had this Hurricane Harvey in Houston, all the celebrities, many of them like American celebrities, were like hosting fundraisers to like raise money, for people to like rebuild their homes and stuff. And like, this is how satanic this system is. It's subtle, but now it's like obvious. But millionaires and billionaires are asking us, like people who are living paycheck to paycheck, to like raise money to help people when they could like, clear all those things out easily, with just a fraction of what they have. And so this is the system that we live in. And so from the top down, it's just a show, it's a circus, and it's completely satanic. And there are consequences for that. And I think that it's becoming very, very obvious to me, and I hope it is for other people as well. But that just, it just took me back. Like, uh, it caught me off guard, seeing a woman who's homeless, probably homeless, still being patriotic, and knowing also the history of the way the so-called Negroes have been treated in America. To me, I just thought that was just, I don't even know what to say. I was literally speechless, and I was just shaking my head that the very country that has done so much evil to many, many people, and in particular the so-called Negroes, how a person could hold an American flag up above their head. To me, again, I can't understand it. I can't. And we're all at the mercy of whatever God teaches us, and tells us, reveals. And I'm very thankful that I know this, because I can't even imagine what my life would be like walking around with an American flag held over my head in the days that we live in now. And then I was conflicted because on the golf course today, they replaced all the flags with American flags, and then you weren't supposed to like lay them on the ground. You're supposed to rest them, on a little stand that they had on the side of the greens. And I was conflicted. There's nothing virtuous here. I don't want to show any respect to the leadership. Obviously, like I said, the people, feet on the ground, normal people. We're just, again, at the mercy of what God reveals to us, and it's tailored for each individual. But I can't rightfully, with a clear conscience, show respect towards a country that has such a brutal history, and it hasn't changed its ways, at all. And the Bible says that that God would want to heal Babylon, which I believe is modern day America, but it won't be healed. It's just going to continue doing what it's been doing, and that's literally terrorizing people, and just starting wars, war after war. And again, this is all Bible prophecy, but I'm just speaking from like an earthly perspective, looking at the resume of this place, America, which I believe again is Mystery Babylon in the book of Revelation. So, that's I thought that was interesting. That to me, that's an excessively severe case of Stockholm syndrome. But I think in that case, she was probably just using it as a way to try and inspire people to be charitable and all that kind of stuff. And the thing I think is ridiculous, even more satanic about this mark of the beast system, which is removing cash from circulation every day, because again, there's just so much credit out there that if everybody in America went to the bank and tried to take out $10 at the same time, the whole system would crash, because there's not enough physical printed money to handle those type of requests, even a relatively small amount by a large group of people. And so, now I don't really carry cash on me anymore. And it's not even accepted in certain places. It's almost awkward to use it. So it's like even difficult for people to even help the poor. So it's like, I try and carry it around. I don't always have it, but this whole system is satanic. Like it even restricts people from being charitable and helping people in these dynamic situations that, you can't give, somebody who's homeless like a credit card. Cash is a good way to be able to transfer value, transfer wealth to somebody else in a quick way when you don't have time to stop and take them somewhere to help them or give them something to eat. So it just shows more and more that this cashless society is only benefiting this central banking system, which is to inflate the pockets of the rich and to deflate those that are poor, and to create this wealth gap, which again is prophecy, but it's just another one of the many million reasons why the system is totally satanic. And then it will be expressed fully, in my opinion, by the government forcing people to put an electronic device in their body, like a dog. But it's even harder to help people, dynamically, and in particular the poor, with the cashless society. So, again, whatever we can do, we should take that opportunity. I think for me, I have to make sure I always have, at least a few dollars, in cash on me. It's not a bad idea to have that in general, just in case something happens with the banks and stuff. But, I need to I was convicted as well every time I go past a homeless person, which happens every day. On the way back from the golf course, I saw that there's literally a tent community, just people in tents, maybe 20 or 30 tents set up, in a park. And that's where people live, it's just normal now, it's just normalized. I just drive past them. Yeah, there's a bunch of tents there. And then there's lots of homeless people within a few blocks of my high rise. And this is America. This is the American dream. This is the flag that, that homeless woman was honoring. When in God's eyes, if it's an abomination to me, and I'm a very sinful person, what does God think of this place? I think God has been so removed that no one even cares what he thinks. We're questioning in many ways that he even exists, because there's so many atheists in the world that are in control by his design. But once we even move past that, we just assume God's happy with this place. This slop, this mess, homeless people everywhere, human feces on the ground, and just it's normal. Just homeless are homeless, and sucks to be them. And hopefully things turn around, and that's really, and that's the best and I'm putting myself in this category, that's the best we give them, as we drive by or walk by or avoid them. And this is America, and this is the place that people were supposed to be celebrating today, on the strength of the patriotism of people who are fighting wars that they don't even know why they're fighting. And, I don't blame them, because there is a very, very strong vibration, a narrative that is somehow a virtuous thing to do. And a lot of them don't know better. And, a lot of us didn't know better. Until now, it's becoming very, very clear that the country is on, the foundation is very, very deceptive, very, very evil, and has an incredible track record of devastation, not just here, but worldwide. And so I wanted to bring out the verses in Ezekiel 16:48-50 that God is using Sodom and Gomorrah as a way to contrast and compare the actions of Jerusalem, and God's people, and it's very interesting, what is said. And so I'm reading Ezekiel 16:48-50. As I live, saith the Lord God, Sodom thy sister hath not done, she nor her daughters as thou hast done, thou and thy daughters. So God is saying that not even Sodom and Gomorrah have done some of the things that he's charging Jerusalem for in all the verses prior. And, Sodom and Gomorrah is meant to be sort of the worst of the worst. In modern day, I believe it's America, and I'll explain why again in these coming verses. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom, pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. And they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore, I took them away as I saw good. So another translation says that Sodom and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy. They were haughty and did detestable things before me. So it's amazing to read now that it wasn't just sexual sin. That makes sense that a society like this, would then go to that level, because a society that has these things as their foundation, arrogance, being overfed and unconcerned, not helping the poor and needy, that would be a society that is purely based on physical pleasures, seeking highs. In modern day, it would be like all the drugs and stuff, and I'm sure they had equivalent back then. And that's what a society does. If they become purely engrossed in just pleasures, highs, and whatever is needed to achieve those, then the foundation would be a society that is arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned, and not helping the poor and needy. That would be the result, and it makes sense. It's like that is exactly what a society would get involved in if they don't do these things. Because what's left? If you're just consumed with ourself and then food, and sustaining us, and not concerned about anything that's going on around, in particular the poor and needy, then everything becomes about us, me. And then what is the thing that we would want? We would want to sustain ourselves only. We would want pleasures, and we would do whatever it takes to prolong our life and make sure that we're happy first and foremost. And so that is what was happening in Sodom. And so it wasn't just the sexual sins and the homosexuality and potentially bestiality and all that kind of stuff. That's the result of these foundational things that God hates. And so God says here that he took them away as he saw good. So it was on his time, but there was consequences for that. And how much America, this is the exact description of America. I'm not saying this to exaggerate. This is exactly, and I put myself in this because I've lived in America for almost half my life now. This is what's taught here. Arrogance, overfed, eating way too much. That's obvious, especially if you live in Texas. Unconcerned. No one has any idea what's going on in the world. And I've been a part of this for many, many years, and a lot of it is by design. But now we have access to information. We don't care. We don't care why there's wars happening or what's going on, or and like the Bible says here, the poor and needy, no one cares. And again, this is the church, from the top down. Most of us don't care. A lot of us can't do anything anyway to help out, but we just don't care. We just drive past people and we don't, whatever, who cares? Like, they're all on drugs, they deserve it. Move on, And so the Bible says here that places that do that, there's a judgment. And so any judgment that's set against America, we all have to drink of that cup. And so God decides, you know, if there's anybody exempt from that, but we're all going to have to drink of this cup if the God of the Bible is true, because he would not change his opinion from the time of Sodom being involved in these kind of things. And then the final expression of that is, like I said, the sexual sins. All that's here. All that's here in America. You don't have to go far to see cases of bestiality, obviously homosexuality. Not just that, it's like I said earlier, it's ingrained, it's in the fabric of our society now. It's deemed virtuous to be sympathetic to the homosexual agenda and all the gender confusion and all that kind of stuff. All the Catholic Church is littered with pedophiles, all the adultery, all the fornication, all the idolatry, all the atheism that has just taken over and masqueraded around as religion when we know that it's not. That's America. You know, that is the country that people were celebrating today. And it just also, the cherry on top is that it's starting endless war after war, and absolutely devastating, you know, almost every nation worldwide, you know, and with the financial system in place that it is the backbone to. And so this is a very, very good description of modern day America. And so that's why the Bible says that Mystery Babylon is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. So the Sodom is the sexual part, and all these things that were just labeled: arrogance, being overfed, unconcerned, not helping the poor. And then Egypt is the slavery. In this case, it's financial slavery that America is behind. You know, that's just, it's obvious, and that's America. And so I think that it's very, very important for us, people who believe that we are God's children and against these kind of things, and want to stand on the side of good, on the side of God, to be aware that there are consequences, not just for the sexual sins, which are everywhere, but these are things that we can get involved in very, very easily every day. And God would not change his judgment towards Sodom with any other group. You know, it's like God will deal with these sins in the same way, and possibly even harsher towards people that he reveals more and more truth to. And a powerful statement was made by Jesus in Matthew 11:20-24. Let me get this one up here. Matthew 11:20-24 reads, Then began he to upbraid the cities wherein most of his mighty works were done, because they repented not. Woe unto thee, Chorazin! Woe unto thee, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works were done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon at the day of judgment than for you. And thou, Capernaum, which art exalted unto heaven, shall it be brought down to hell. For if the mighty works which have been done in thee had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. So even Jesus is saying that Sodom, the people in Sodom and Gomorrah, were not given wisdom. They were not given miracles. They were not shown a lot of the power of God, and they behaved accordingly. So how much more is he saying should be entrusted and required of people who are given truth, you know, and given access to things of a spiritual nature, things of an eternal nature. And so that is scary for us who believe that we have truth. We are held to a higher standard. And so it's not just worrisome for the people that are homosexual or transgender and all these different things that are very easy to like label outside of ourselves. This verse right here, where it describes Sodom, describes characteristics that any of us can be involved in. And like I said earlier, I was involved in earlier today, not helping the poor and the needy, just driving past them and you know, looking at them like, what on earth is going on? You know, in this situation, I was like shaking my head at this individual. You know, I kind of caught myself doing it, but I was like amazed that people could be pro-America. You put me at the rung like that as a homeless person. I'm certainly not going to be singing praises of this society, because no one is speaking for the poor. No one. I'm talking nobody. And so they are not going to get helped. And people would say, well, that's very pessimistic, but that's just the reality of it. The church is completely sold out. There's double meaning on that. They are sold out. They don't have any understanding of the Bible and what God requires. They're not teaching any of this stuff in any of the churches about how God has put his spirit in the poor and needy. If we do not reach out to the lowest, the quote unquote lowest rung of the social hierarchies, God is not found. He hides himself amongst things and in places that not everybody is willing to go and to interact and to help. That is the way God is. And Jesus even says, as we read on in Matthew 25, at that time Jesus answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes. Even so, Father, for so it seemed good in thy sight. All things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father, neither knoweth any man the Father save the Son, and he whomsoever the Son will reveal him. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. But just to emphasize the fact that Jesus says here, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes, unto children, the childlike. And so, this is the world that we live in. God hides himself in things that really go against what the things of this society value. And so people were trained and conditioned, and a lot of us are coming out of this, to worship and exalt people of high position and status. And I just encourage everybody to don't buy into that in the days that we live in, because there are judgments set for people, and this is not funny, who continue to buy into that. We don't want to be a part of a system that God hates. And he hated Sodom, and he hates anything that's like Sodom, whether we call it America or Mystery Babylon or whatever country it is. If they exhibit the characteristics that are described here: arrogance, overfed, unconcerned, selfish, not helping the poor and needy, God hates that place. And everybody knows that America is like that. And we cannot align ourselves with that. And the Bible says in Revelation to come out of her, my people. Do not partake in the sins of this place that it's describing in Revelation 17 and Revelation 18 as Mystery Babylon. And then for those who do, they may be spared of the plagues that are described later. And so that's all we can do. And I would highly encourage people to, again, we don't have to be unpatriotic unnecessarily, or like in a confrontational way, or just to purposely sort of start things. But it's very, very important to really get down to the root of things. There's just a lot of narratives. There's a lot of sort of traditions that are out there that are celebrated, but they're just a guise. They're just window dressing for something that's really, really going on, that's actually deeply satanic, and the God the Bible hates. Hope everyone's doing well.